Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up for the Shannons Club. Kenworth Trucks Australia. Pace Farm Eggs. And Holden Certified Service AC Delco Parts.
Moving through the beginning of episode 4 today, just going through York County here in the beautiful state of Pennsylvania. And today's going to be a little bit interesting. Again, it's a location that I have never been to before, and it's a guy that does his own fabrication work in his yard, and apparently he's very, very good. He's doing some very clever stuff. So we'll see what he's up to.
How beautiful is this? In the gorgeous York County, around about an hour's drive from Carlisle in Pennsylvania. Joel has lived here all of his life so far, and he is restoring a very special car. Joel's parents moved into here back in 1961, a beautiful 4-acre property. His dad was a union truck driver, and when he wasn't behind the wheel, he did some farming. These parts of the United States are just so nice. What a place to reside, surrounded by peace and quiet. And behind that peaceful environment, a very strong car culture resides as well. In 1968, Joel's dad bought a same year Coronet RT 440 4-speed car. It's still in the family today, and here is that story. Now, before we begin today's show and talk about the car that's been in the family since day one and currently under restoration, we need to talk about this car first. How are you, Joel?
Good. How you doing, Fletch?
Wonderfully well. You've got a great place here, beautiful day. You must love living here.
Oh, it's great living out here in the country. It's just everything about it. It's peaceful, and yeah, I just love it.
And you bought the home from your parents back in 2008, is that correct?
Yes, 2007, 2008. Mom and Dad were retiring, wanted to travel, and Dad offered up to buy the place, and I couldn't pass it. No. It was a dream.
Okay, the car beside us, there's not many of these are built, and you know, I know that here in the United States. 1971 Charger, an SE, a 383 Magnum, 4-speed pistol grip car,
Yep.
All matching numbers, correct period car, right?
Correct. It's one of 15,811 71 Charger SEs produced. Out of that number, 194 of them were the 383 with the pistol grip 4-speed, but only 90 had the optional 323 gear ratio, short grip differential that this car has. I guess what sets this car apart is the factory power sunroof. That makes it one of only 150 cars.
They went through that late 60s period into the early 70s. They took on a more of a luxurious persona as well, didn't they? On this car here, power windows, a more, a softer interior than past years. Yeah, quite they definitely were. They were always the gentleman's, the banker's hot rod, but yeah, I can see the luxury side here.
Yes. Actually, this is like I guess you could say it's like a Superbee dressed up as an SE. You have all the chrome and bling of an SE, but you have the same powertrain as what a 383 car would have in it.
It's such a good-looking car, Joel. Doesn't matter what angle you stand at. The thing looks good. The side profile looks nice. I like the half vinyl roof as well. That's nice. The SE badging on the side there just gives that little bit of, as you say, the bling as well. Polyglass tyres. Now, I've got to ask you, what are they like to use and drive with?
You drive it. It's not like a modern car. You feel the road. It catches the grooves in the road. You feel every bump. You
That
wonder.
that archaicness itself. That'd be kind of cool.
Yes, yes, I love it. I find it relaxing. I find it very therapeutic to drive this car where I'm driving.
Okay, now this car was restored as well by you. What's the story there? What was its condition when you found it, Joel?
I bought this car in around August of '86. I was 17. I paid $300 for it. We bought it out of Smyrna, Delaware. Had a 440 in. The original numbers matching 383 was laying under a tarp, 12 bent push rods and a wiped out timing chain. I brought it all home. I drove the car for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then rebuilt the front end, rebuilt the original engine, put back in it, and drove it.
Okay, the 383 up front, what have you done there? Did you just go a standard spec, Joel, or did you give it some extra goodies?
Well, I gave it a Chrysler Purple Shaft cam. It's a 280 duration, 474 lift. And then I snuck a set of 67 383 Magnum heads on it, which are a little better flowing. And then in '89, I decided that I was going to restore it, and I completely gutted the car. Became a little overwhelmed with what I had gotten myself into. Boxed everything back up, put the car back in the corner, and I got into drag racing. And the car sat for a while.
Well, that would have been a bottomless pit when it came to your cash.
Yes, yes. So when I started back in the car restoring it, I was raising a family. I had a son, and then along came I bought a house, and then along came a daughter. And every time I would get a little extra money ahead, of course, something would take it. And so we just nipped and picked away at it until I lost a job in there also. And
Yeah, just throw that into the mix as well, right?
yeah, it's life, you know.
It is. It is. And I think those little bumps like that make us appreciate what we have now at this stage of life even more so.
Correct. Yes. It made me definitely appreciate a lot of things. I came close to selling it after I lost my job, but I thought, well, I don't owe nobody. I don't owe nothing. It's not costing me. I'll let it sit. I was fortunate to have a wife that supported me extremely. Yeah. So every little bit of tax returns or bonuses or any little money I had would get funneled into the car.
She's a keeper.
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely. And starting on it really hard in like 2004, 2005, I finished it in 2012. So I forgot to mention, Fletch, when you optioned for the G6015 polyglass tires, they would inscribe on the trunk lid the G6015s, which would designate the car to be optioned with those tires as they come down the assembly line.
Like Dad, I've always been a Ford man. The Falcon Squire wagon was unloved in 1964, but turns heads today. The Americans call them woodies, but the panelling, it's just fiberglass and plastic. But it's a passion that Shannons understands, which is why my Fords are insured with Shannons. And now, so's the home.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network.
Your story began in 1971. It's part of an endless tapestry that tells the story of our nation. It connects innovators to artisans, forests to houses, from the largest of operations to the smallest of outcomes. It's heritage. It's a legacy.
Yeah, the 71 Charger, I love that. Beautiful car. I love the contour, the body lines on it, the fuselage styling. So there was 150 of the 71 Charger SEs produced with the factory power sunroof. This is one of only two known to exist with the 4-speed and the factory power sunroof, making it much rarer. So from the car outside, the 71 Charger, we go to my true love, my dad's 68 Cornet RT, 440 Magnum, 4-speed, Dana 60 rear, 354 car. Dad bought this car brand new from a local Dodge dealer in York, PA. Bought the car May 31st of 1968 and took my mom to the hospital a couple days later to have me. Told her if her water broke, she was getting out and walking. Didn't cause a real love affair with my mom in the car, but I loved the car. A lot of memories with the car. My mom taking me to school in the car and picking me up in this car. Then my dad was a truck driver, and we live out in the country. And so at night, when my dad would leave with the windows open, I could hear the old purr of the 440 going up the road as he rode through that 4-speed. And we have an intersection about a quarter mile away. I'd hear him stop and take off again. And he'd go up the road another about a half mile, and then I'd hear him stop and take off again. And some nights I'd be laying there, and the sound of the car, was music to my ears, and I could hear him on his way home. We never knew when my dad was coming home, but I'd hear that car coming down the road, and I knew it was my dad. In summers around late 77, 78, the 440 lost oil pressure, and Dad parked it. I don't know why he never fixed the car up again. I don't know what his reasonings were for that, but the car sat. As a kid, I would go out and climb in the car, and I probably raced thousands of miles in this car, running through the gears and shifting it, and won many a drag race. But it was always a dream. I think his car is probably one of the single most factors that made my love affair with cars. So when I was around about 15, I told my dad I was going to fix the car up. He didn't tell me yes, he didn't tell me no. I bought a 440 out of a junkyard for $150. Mom took me to the library. I got a Chilton manual. Learned how to put a timing chain in. Pulled the car out with an old tripod and chain hoist. And I remember that A33 18 spline 4-speed weighed a ton trying to take that thing down out with no jacks and put it back up in there. But I got the car running, swapped the motors. I kept the original 440. So when I was ready to turn 16, I told Dad I wanted to fix it up. I wanted to put it on the road. Dad said, no, you're not going to. Too much car. So she sat. Finally, it was its time. It's time to restore it. And the Charger gave me the experience I needed and the skill and ability that I needed to work on this car. One of my regrets is that I never got a photo of my dad with the car. It always kind of tormented me a little bit. I have some photos of me and my dad, but I never have any of Dad with the car. Something I always dreamed about was to have this car restored in time that I could take Dad for a ride in it. Unfortunately, time was not on my side. My dad passed away in 2018, and he left me an inheritance between my 3 brothers. It was split, and I knew then that that was designated for this car and only for this car. And so that is why I was able to do the restoration to the car. So the condition of the car when I started on it, because it had been sitting outside and because it had been in an old bank barn with a dirt floor, it had a lot of rust. Of course, from the roads back in the time, this was a daily driver. So salt took a heavy toll on this 68. Pretty much everything from the rear axle back on the car needed replaced. Fortunately, the front frame rails were solid. Had little minor repairs here and there. Same with the inner fenders, minor repairs on the inner fenders. I'm trying to save as much of the metal as possible. I kept the original 440, tore the engine apart, cleaned it all up. I'd even mic'd the crankshaft. And it was scorned slightly, but it looked like it could be turned. I took the crank to a machine shop, and he called me a couple days later, and he said, your crankshaft is broken. I was surprised. I didn't see it. I looked at it. He said, well, I tinked it with a hammer, and it didn't tink back. And so therefore, we ended up, that was the reason at the oil pressure, loss of oil pressure. So he was fortunate that he had another forged crank there. I was able to replace the crankshaft. So I will be rebuilding the original engine. The original A833 is getting rebuilt, and the original Dana, I put new bearings on it. That's the story of my 68 Coronet. I'm excited as time goes on to drive this car, to see it back in its original glory. And as a memory of my dad, memorial to my dad, and I can't wait to drive this car.
Joel, you do amazing work. Your metal work is fantastic. It's one thing to do something on the outside, but behind the scenes stuff, like your gusset work and stuff inside your rocker cells and in the panels in there, and it's an amazing amount of work too, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I like a challenge. For me, it's improving skill and just a challenge of working with the metal. I rebuild engines and do a lot of that type of stuff on a regular basis. The body work, Fletch, is just, it's something different. It's like an immediate gratification that you can get.
The thing is too, I think what is so lovely about this, a tribute to your dad as well. And I'm sure he's looking down and seeing what you're doing here. So look, on that note, I want to thank you for the opportunity out here today, and thank you very much for your time. It's been wonderful catching up, and I just want to give you 100 out of 100 for the workmanship that you're doing. I said earlier, driving here today, that restoring vehicles is one thing, but when you go this far, as extensively as you have into the body, that's real next level stuff, and I think you're doing a great job, Joel.
Thank you, Fletch. I greatly appreciate it. It's an honor having you here. I'm humbled that you chose to do an episode, to do a story on this car. I know Dad would be thrilled also. I thank you.
That's okay. I found Joel on social media, and that's what it's about. I saw a few of his pictures that he posted, and something just clicked, and I thought, when I do this United States trip, I'm going to track this guy down. And you wouldn't read about it. He happened to be at the Carlisle Chrysler Nationals in July, and he ran out, and he met me there as well. So it's fantastic how it has worked out, Joel. Been an absolute pleasure, sir. Keep up your fantastic work. Thank you.
Thank you, Fletch. Greatly appreciate it.
When I was a kid, I loved cars. Still do. The 57 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham was the most advanced car in the world. Cost more than a Rolls. Hand-built with a stainless steel roof, cruise control, electric seats, and would you believe, air suspension. American iron. It's a passion Shannons understand. That's why they insure my daily drive, the caddy, my bike, even the house.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. If you own a classic, it doesn't matter about the vintage. Perhaps you're after some laid-up cover. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And becoming a member of the Shannons Club has never been easier. For more information, visit shannons.com.au.
Yeah, I think it's a very special episode featuring Joel and the 68 Coronet. And it's not just a car. You can just tell from the story what these classic vehicles mean to people. They're not just family members, it runs a lot deeper than that. And speaking of people that have got great passion with vehicles, we're now in the state of Ohio, and the next guy you're about to see on today's show is no stranger to classic restos, and I feature him quite often, or when I say quite often, each year when I'm here in the United States. And the reason being is that it's because he's always got something different to show us.
Murray, how you doing?
Good, Fletch. Good to see you.
Great to see you too. How have you been?
Great. Keeping busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, as usual.
Surrounding yourself by these incredible cars day in, day out.
Yep. That's, I guess, what you call it.
Okay, so tell us quickly about the C-body business and where you're up to. How's it all doing?
Doing well. Everybody's loving their C-bodies. Same thing every day, but it keeps going. So yeah.
He does a tremendous job for a one-man band, and it's okay to be in the parts business, that's one thing, but there's a few nice cars behind the scenes as well. Now, this 1970 Imperial behind us, this has not featured on Classic Restos before. It's a very special car to you. Would you like to share why?
I've known this car since I was a kid. It was a local car. It belonged to a friend of mine. Always loved the car. Beautiful car. It's all original. Took me a long time to finally get it in my stable, but I've got it now, and it's home for good, at least while I'm around.
So you go back to like when you were 18 years of age, locally here in Tiffin, Ohio.
That's correct.
When you first saw the car.
Around there. I could have been younger than that. I don't remember. It was 18 probably when I first started trying to buy it. So, yes.
And tell us about the gentleman that owned it.
He was a local farmer, die-hard Chrysler man, loved his Imperials and anything Chrysler, and I learned a lot from him as a kid. So he was a good guy.
Yeah. Now, if you don't know, over here in winter is treacherous on cars. And tell us why.
Oh, they used tons of road salt to clear the snow and ice, and it just eats stuff up, and so it's really odd to find a 50-plus-year-old car that's lived here its whole life that was never used in any kind of winter driving, and this is one.
So it's obvious this car never saw a salty road in its life, which is nice. It's a lucky one. It's another lucky car. It wasn't subject to those conditions.
Exactly.
So parked up in winter. How many miles on the car now as it sits in 2024, Murray?
Currently it's showing 71,000.
So okay, we're top of the line with Mopar. We're looking at an Imperial. It's up there with to the likes of your Cadillac Fleetwood, right?
Oh, definitely, yes. It's a LeBaron, which actually 70 was the last year they still made a Crown, although they were very limited, but it was kind of a basic Imperial if there was such a thing. And the LeBaron was the top of the line.
And it's a fully loaded car if you want to run through some of the features.
Oh, yes, it's got pretty well everything you get. It's even got a rear seat heater where the heater hoses run completely under the car, and it has a separate heater in the trunk for the rear seat passengers. It's got auto temp AC. It's got, of course, power windows and power door locks and tilt, telescope, AM, FM with an 8-track player. About anything you could get on a car in 1970.
It's a beautiful example, and it's lovely to see one like this. It's as close as we could be to a brand new car. Even when we look at that vinyl roof and the condition of that, that's incredible.
Yeah, it looks like it was put on yesterday, and it's the original top. It's beautiful, and the Jubilee blue, that's the name of the color of the car. You can't beat it.
The interior, Murray, you said earlier, it's a great way of putting it. It glows. It's as though it just illuminates in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's a light blue leather, but it's got a glow to it. It shines when you look at it. It's nothing like the leather you get now in a new car. I mean, the leather's nice now, but it's not anything like this. What does this car mean to me? It's a car that I've known my whole life pretty well, and was always hoping to add to my collection, and I've been able to do that, and I'm very privileged to own it. I plan on being its caretaker till I can no longer take care of it. So it's come to its forever home at this point. Car's equipped with a 440 cubic inch engine, which is one of Chrysler's best, as most of you know. Never had any major work done other than regular maintenance. It's never been apart, 55 years old, doesn't burn oil, starts, runs, doesn't tick, smoke, rattle. It runs like it did when it was new. This Imperial is just a dream to drive. I love just taking it out, and if I've got nowhere to go, it's just a pleasure to drive. Whether I got all the windows down or the AC on, it's just a pleasure of a car to drive, and it makes you feel like you've made it. You're somebody special because you get to pilot this lovely automobile.
Murray, it's quite a car, isn't it?
It certainly is, Fletch.
I know it's dear to your heart. And being in the parts business, just rounding off now, the parts business in terms of parts drying up, parts for these cars still in plentiful supply?
I have a heck of an inventory, so for me they're in a plentiful supply, but yes, they are. I hear from people all over that parts are drying up. Everything's getting harder to find, yes.
Look, I really appreciate your input on Classic Restos. Each year we pass through here, and thank you once again for being on today's show and featuring this incredible car that we haven't done before. So in light of that, I'll give you a plug. What's the contact details? You got a C-body, need to contact Murray. What are the details?
You can go to my website, is cbodies.com. Contact me through that. If you prefer to call, you can do that also. Information's all on my website, and look forward to talking to you.
Good on you, Murray. Good on you. Well, that's great. And it's guys like this that help to keep our fraternity rolling along as well. It's great to have our cars, but we need the parts as well. So, Murray, it's been an absolute pleasure again. Thank you for the invitation back here. It's always fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Fletch. It's great seeing you.
Thank you. You have seen the heartfelt episode and the fantastic workmanship of Joel Johnson and his family's 1968 Dodge Coronet. And of course, the immaculate 1970 Imperial belonging to Murray Park. I hope you've enjoyed it. There'll be more United States of America content coming your way on next week's show, with a big thanks to Shannons. And until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch. Thanks for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up for the Shannons Club, Kenworth Trucks Australia, Pace Farm Eggs, and Holden Certified Service AC Delco Parts.